All right. So I'm live. Let's talk about love. I know it's really late, so I don't expect people to be on here unless you're a different state or something like that. It's like really late. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning here. So, but anyway, I was doing some tarot readings and I felt called to just come on here and just kind of regurgitate my thoughts and feelings about love and about, learned about love and what I've learned about what I want, what I don't want, and what I've learned about people and different types of connections. We have like soul connections, we have twin flame connections. I know a lot of people have stigma around twin flames, and I will say it's a sticky situation when it comes to twin flames. It depends, I think, how deeply you believe in um, reincarnation and you know, I think it's centrally around reincarnation. If you believe that there is some type of reincarnation, that perhaps twin flames can be something that you also could believe in. It is a little complicated. It's not for everyone. A lot of people don't believe in twin flames because the idea of twin flames is that you have, essentially two parts of a soul that divide. And this is my interpretation, by the way. So if somebody has a different interpretation, that's fine. Disclaimer, right? This is just my interpretation of it. There are a lot of people that have their own ideas about what twin flames are. So hence the confusion and hence why people kind of don't want to use the name twin flame, right? But essentially, twin flame is, someone who, uh, God, I don't know. I'm even confused myself between how I should explain this. But the idea is that you are, one soul that divides to fix karma here on Earth, and you make a contract with that person, and you're going to come back and come together and um, reduce that bad karma together in earth on earth. Okay, so for example, let's say you are a twin flame. Let's say you have really bad abandonment issues and your twin flame has really bad issues with being open about their feelings and not ghosting people. Like they tend to ghost people. That's their shit. Your shit is to avoid, as to not get hurt. Or you're the opposite. You're like really attachy. You really want to like chase them and get a lot of communication and get a lot of all of that shit. And then you get here and you meet this person. Now, what makes twin flames so difficult is that you have an intense connection with them. So even though you almost repel each other like water and oil with your traumas, you, in the same regard, attract and are magnetized to each other. So it is a very painful process to um, be able to make it with your twin flame. Like get to the point where that person is going to be doing that internal growth that you want, that internal, healing that you want that person to do so that you guys can come together. All of that, is dependent on both you and that other person. So most, oh, I can't say most of the time. A lot of times people are not ready for that. It is a tower moment, as you say in tarot. It is a moment that is, a catalyst. It's an explosion when you meet that person, and not in a great way. In a lot of ways, like in a lot of ways, it awakens your traumas because that person, that's what it's meant for. It's meant for, like, I love the tarot deck. Santa Muerte tarot deck, because it explains the Two of Swords as a pair of scissors and how the pair of scissors come together and their only, you know, um, job is to create a sharp enough space to cut scissor to cut, right? To cut paper, to do whatever. But if one doesn't do the job, the other one doesn't. And so in order for that to work, both have to be at the same speed, at the same strength, at the same sharpness in order to cut that paper. And so I think that like with twin flames, there has to be that willingness to grow, willingness to change, willingness to become exactly what you know, maybe always wanted to be, but didn't have the courage to do. Could be it. There are a lot of reasons why a twin flame connection can be awakened. But, you know, for me, I did have a twin flame connection that ended up poorly. I had a connection with someone that um, did not want to change, which was heartbreaking for me. But what it did was, which was great, because for me, I had a lot of, which I'm grateful to say, past tense, a lot of abandonment issues and a lot of issues with like that. I was the chaser. I was the one that I wanted the communication. I wanted all of that. And this person did not do that. This person was the opposite. They ran away from anything that was emotional. They ran away from their feelings. They ran away from commitment. They ran away from the things that probably would have helped them become a better human. And, um, I did not. I I faced my fears. I was upfront. I did things that were, in my opinion, courageous in putting myself out there. Made efforts to see the person out of state, and it did not turn out well for me in that sense, right? Like, I didn't get reciprocation. I got ghosted is what I got. Now, a lot of people here would say, damn, bitch, that's a failure. Like, fuck, like, couldn't you have some more self-confidence, more respect for yourself to do that? Well, no, motherfuckers. And this is why. Because I was on a journey to heal myself. And I was on a journey, and I knew that twin flames, like, it is about healing, right? It's about undoing karma that was done to you. And it's about two people coming together to heal, but in very, very deep hurt, deep places. Like, these are dark places. These are places that people don't fucking talk about, you know? So it was a crapshoot to hope that somebody would, you know, that person would want to grow with me, right? I mean, so I did take a chance there. But every time I got rejected, what was beautiful about it is that every time I got rejected, every time I was ghosted, every time I was pushed aside and not communicated with, it allowed me the opportunity to ask myself, how do I value myself? Like, why is this so important to me? Why is this so fucking important? Like, who am I chasing here? Am I chasing to heal my inner child? Am I chasing for a father figure? Who the fuck am I chasing here? And who the fuck do I think I am? Am I a good person? Am I a valid person to love? Am I a beautiful person? Am I intelligent enough? Like, all of those questions were running through my mind. And I know a lot of people and a lot of other people do the same thing. So that's kind of like why I'm on here. Is just like, I feel like some people, feel like sorry, it's kind of loud. Maybe not the whole story about people and their struggle with love, right? When you're coming from a place of trauma, how do you find genuine love? Because that's a hard thing to do. You really have to go about the idea in a very not egocentric, in a very centered way, that it's coming from you. And each time that you heal, you're going to attract a different human each time you heal. Like, who you were interested in your 20s is sure as hell not going to be who you're interested in your fucking 30s or your 40s, right? So you do grow and you do evolve and you do change, hopefully. But I think, like, for me, the reason why this particular person, I think, came into my life was to show me my value. But interestingly, it wasn't that they were holding a mirror up to me and saying, look how beautiful you are. They weren't the one giving me that positive praise. They weren't the ones that were saying, oh, you're the most amazing person I've ever met. No, it was the opposite. I was the one that had to build myself up because I was in the middle of that negative vacuum of ghosting and breadcrumbing and bullshit. So I had to figure out and navigate who I was through that negative void, which is so difficult to do when you're dealing with the idea of abandonment, because that is the scariest place to be with abandonment. So scary, because that's exactly where you don't want to be. You want to be in that fuzzy, beautiful area of like, this person adores me and I adore them and we're in love and everything's going to be great. Abandonment, when you're working on it, you're typically, for me, I was not given that by the universe. I was given someone that was the exact opposite of what I needed. The exact opposite. There was nothing beautiful or positive about what that person brought to my life other than pain, and very difficult pain. But coming outside of that, the beauty of that is that I was able to grow, and and it took a lot of focus for me. It took a lot of focus, a lot of like, listen, you know what? You've been through a lot of shit, and why are you giving, like, if anybody out there is religious, that whole scripture about throwing your pearls to swine. Why are you throwing your pearls to swine? Like in the Bible, like if you hold value for yourself, then you need to make it valuable. Like, think about like Wall Street, for example. Like, what makes something valuable is making it scarce, right? Making something scarce, and it alludes to people thinking that it's so valuable. Not in a manipulative way or a negative way, but chasing is not going to bring any kind of positive reciprocation from someone else. It is holding that self-respect, pulling back and saying, right now, I might like this person so fucking much, but you know what? They're not ready. Okay. So what does that mean? Are you going to throw yourself to their feet, or are you going to pull back and be like, okay, I'm going to give that person some time? And if that person is open to having any kind of connection with me, they're going to come towards me, and I'm not going to chase. I'm not. And that takes a lot of like, a lot of fucking work. And that goes across the board, like this was kind of split off from twin flame conversation, but I want to talk a little bit about like soulmate connections. Soulmate connections are pretty amazing. They are different. They're not like twin flame connections, and we can have numerous soulmates. And the beauty about soulmates, I think, is that it is not as harsh as twin flames. I guess I can say, like, you can have many of them. Sometimes they can be platonic soulmates. They can be soulmates that are not sexual, not romantic at all, but true soulmates that you guys are two peas in a pod. You guys are like, I've experienced that with coworkers where I'm like, I don't want to work unless this person's working. And this person understands me so much, and we are close, and we get each other, and we are so unique that it's rare to find someone that matches my energy, that kind of thing. That can be like developing like a soul tribe, right? Where you have people that are in your life because they make an impact in your life, and they help you, and they teach you in just who they are. They just reflect things that you absorb, and then you kind of like are both absorbing each other's energy, and it gives fuel. It doesn't suck away. They're not energy vampires. They're not people who just want to take all your energy. These are people that come, it's back and forth. It's like, you have a bad day, you can spill your guts. They have a bad day, they can spill their guts, and you guys are there to support each other in an equal way. And building a number of those people in your life, like a soul tribe, is the most important thing I think anyone can do. And uh, or I should say that anyone can benefit from. It's important to have. And if you're on your soul journey where you're like, have I found myself when I started, doing that introspective discovery, I found myself like moving away from people that I used to really, really enjoy hanging out with. I kind of became a homebody. I felt like a lot of people wouldn't be able to understand the things that I was going through or the things that I was thinking of, until I found my beautiful coworker. She's not here. She's not working here anymore, but her name's Jennifer. And this beautiful woman was so kind to listen to all my woo woo drama bullshit that I was going through and be so supportive and kind. And it's not like she had some kind of spiritual awakening or epiphany or any kind of like profound thing, but she just had such a warm soul, and we connected in a deep way, and we were able to just bond in that way. So imagine that times five or times six or even times three. Just a small little group of people, like that. So you can have soulmates in many different forms. I think that, soulmates, when it comes to a romantic setting, I think for me, I don't know, I have someone in my life right now that it feels very much like a soulmate because it's not as painful as a twin flame. A twin flame, like I said, is a very painful kind of can be a very painful experience, especially if you are stuck in that kind of runner chaser dynamic. This person, it's not at all that way. It's a very amazing, very free, very giving, very reciprocal, very, very benevolent in every kind of way. Like, all we want to do is give back to the other person. Whatever one person gives, the other wants to give back. It's very, back and forth, very equal, very kind, very loving, very generous, very, as they say in Spanish, con mucho cariño. It's like everywhere. Like the goal is to help each other grow. The goal is unconditional love. The goal is to not leave the other person abandoned, to be kind and generous to each other. All those things that everybody dreams about, that you want in a relationship, but to find one person that will do that, it has the emotional intelligence to do that and actually does match your soul, is can be difficult, but it is out there. But it does take, just like twin flames, I think it just takes an bravery, to um let go of social norms. And I say that because there are a lot of situations where social norms play a huge part in the decisions that people make for their partners. Social norms sometimes are the driving force to why people get married, why people bond with one person and never, try to find another person, or whatever, or feel like their love story has ended because they found one person, kind of thing. I think that uh, are I think we're more complex humans than that. I feel like, you know, um, we are more complex than we give ourselves credit for when it comes to relationships and when it comes to love and when it comes to, bonding with a person. So for me, you know, I I think that, oh, hi, I don't know who you are. You say it's really huge. I don't know what that means, but thank you for joining. Um, anyway, I just think that, you know, really digging deep and finding out who you are is the cornerstone to discovering who your person might be. And um, and I would invite I know this is probably a very, controversial thing to say, but I'm gonna say it. And I think that people should also be open to the sexuality of whoever they want to be open to. To say that, is sexuality that big of a deal when it comes to a soul connection? Which is a whole nother bag, honey. That's a whole nother motherfucking thing right there to fucking crack open, right? Like, is sexuality something that impacts how you fall in love? And how many times have humans really had attractions to different genders, but refrained because it wasn't what society thought was acceptable? Or even family, like the whole nuclear family bullshit about like it has to be a mom and a dad and the kids, and that's it. And the woman has to be submissive to the man and blah, 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 right? Like, what if it has nothing to do with that? Like all the polyamory folks out there, like what if it's a group of people fucking raising children as they did back in the day? Like, oh yes, it is more important. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because what lasts, right? Like what lasts, what is going to be sustaining there, right? Obviously, we all know that like genetics and hormones and all that shit, sex is fucking great. Don't get me wrong. I love me some boom boom, but that doesn't sustain a whole relationship. Certainly does not sustain it for the rest of your life. So there has to be some deep substance there. There has to be something that carries that bond further than the physical, right? And so I think that, I guess my opinion, because, I guess it's just my opinion, right? My opinion is that I think that looking, and I'm not saying, because let me regress here. Back in the 60s and 70s, there was this whole idea of like free love, right? Like everybody was like loving, everybody was like, Age of Aquarius is beautiful, love, 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 love. But it seems like what ended up happening was that it was a purely physical interaction that a lot of people were having. It wasn't like, let's discover who we are. Let's discover who we are inside and find that other person that we can bond with. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that will be the only person that you bond with, because just like you have, like with anything, and I know this seems very trivial, but like you have utensils in the kitchen, for example. And I know this is fucking really a horrible example, so forgive me. But like you don't try to fucking flip a pancake with a spoon. You don't try to, pick up a piece of meat with, a ladle, for example, or don't try to mix dough with a a dough cutter, for example. No, that's not going to work. You Whatever needs to be kneaded with your hands has to be kneaded. Whatever needs to be flipped, blah, blah, you have to have the same tools, the right tools. And I think that us as humans, we are so complex with what we desire, what we love, what is sexually attractive to us, what isn't, and what we find emotionally fulfilling and psychologically fulfilling are all sometimes can be in different places. Like you can be like, hey, I really adore you in this setting, and I adore this person in that setting. Like I love hanging out with this person because they stimulate me so much mentally, you know. But the only way that I think that really works is if you know yourself well, because it can be super messy, right? Like if you just go ahead and just like willy-nilly, I'm gonna have this person for my mental shit, I'm gonna have this person for my emotional shit, this person for my sexual shit, like that can get messy as fuck. So you've got to really know you and heal yourself to become that whole thing. It's kind of like that saying that they say, um, I think it's a very heterosexual thing to say, but like you make yourself a gift first before you give yourself to somebody else, right? Um, exactly. 80% love, romance, 20% sex. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Like for real, it is you, but in order to connect mentally and emotionally and have those deep connections, you've got to heal yourself and at least be willing to, right? At least have the courage to be like, fuck, I have a big fucking issue here. Why am I repeating the same pattern here? Like, ask yourself, be proactive about healing yourself. Don't just accept things the way they are, and not everybody gets that opportunity either, like I've done a lot of tarot, a lot of tarot readings and stuff. And the one thing that I've learned about humanity is that there's some people that are not meant to I shouldn't say not meant, that are in this lifetime not going to progress, not going to emotionally progress. They are content in their life pattern and do not have any desire to explore anything above what they are experiencing. They are fully enmeshed in that 3D experience and have no questions about anything above that. There are those people that are out there that are like that. It doesn't mean that they're not valued. They are beautiful people, but they're not willing to elevate themselves because that's just kind of what they can handle, like it's nothing against them. I think everyone has their own point of evolution. Sometimes it's not in this lifetime. Your evolution might be in the next lifetime. It still doesn't mean that you can't learn along the way. The whole point of being here on this planet really is to learn, right? When you think about everything that, I mean, God, this, I don't even want to get started on fucking how I feel about this planet, but it's difficult. It's difficult to raise any kind of vibration on this fucking dark planet, to be honest with you. But, I really do think that let's see, what did you say? What if you were blind to your own faults? Well, what do you think? If you're aware that you have faults, are you really blind? Right. If you're aware of your own faults, are you really blind at all? No. If you're aware of your faults, that is that door that has swung open with an opportunity for you to learn your faults. And most likely, those faults are unhealed wounds, wounds that need to be cared for and nurtured and healed. Um, so I would say that if you have any inclination that you have wounds, repeated patterns that are um, not getting better in each relationship, that you should ask yourself, okay, now wait a minute. Okay, like if it's me over and over again, then if a duck quacks, it quacks, right? Like you can't you can't deny that maybe you're participating in your own demise, or not demise, that's so dramatic, right? Your own self sabotage, in relationships. So I do think that there is an element of, like, you'd have to have some responsibility for yourself and responsibility for what you contribute. Even like when I was going back earlier about that twin flame connection that I had, that was so painful. I participated in that completely. Like, I don't blame that person 100%, even though it hurt me to the deepest core of my being, because it really triggered huge abandonment issues that I had. But I couldn't blame that person for my abandonment issues. And, that person had their own issues that they weren't healed from. So who's at fault? We're just sitting there triggering each other, when you try to, like, charge a car and you have the positive and the negative, and you just hitting them together and sparking that shit up, and you got that energy, but it's not going anywhere. It's not fueling anything. It's not making anything grow. That's kind of like what it was. And so, how long do you want to stay in that stagnant, painful energy? Until you say, this is some bullshit and I deserve better. And that was the biggest change for me, is to realize that I deserve better, to realize that happiness, and I've said this a lot of times in readings I do, is that happiness is our fucking birthright. It's our birthright. Like being swaddled, like having our diapers changed, like having our food and our milk and all of that. That's our birthright. Did you ever think about that? Like, has anybody ever realized that your happiness is your birthright? Like, we look at happiness as I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but we look at happiness as like something we should be grateful for. Like it's like if you can be happy, Santosito, like God bless you, you made it, like you're happy. You checked all the boxes off that society told you that you needed to check off in order to be happy. Find the person, have the kids, get the job, get the house, all that shit. But what happens when you find that shit and you're not happy still? What happens then when you're not happy? Still, you're not happy. And that's a lot of this, that's a lot of situations that people find themselves in, right? We do everything our parents say that we should do, and we still end up fucking unhappy. And then what? Then where do you go to try to, oh, look at this shit. Y'all didn't tell me I got makeup on my eyelids. Sorry. Anyway, nobody tells us that, what to do after that shit. And I think that is a huge portion in finding out, number one, who you are, finding out like who your soul, like what kind of connection you need in order to, if any, actually, by the way, like some people don't even need a connection. Some people are meant to walk this earth and not have a connection, and they're completely content and happy in that. But I will tell you, a lot of those people have a very benevolent life, a life that is a giving life, a life that, like, is constantly donating either money or their time or their effort or whatever. Um, so I'm just wondering your wow factor. Huh. I don't know what that means. Wondering. Maybe they're arrogant and refuse to accept that they are wounded. Oh, yes, honey. Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, like I said, there's some people that like are okay with taking the easy road. Like, okay, so there's some philosophy out there, like Abraham Hicks does mention in her. If you haven't checked her out, you should. She has a lot of inspirational, powerful messages about navigating this world. Okay. Um, but she also mentions something that I kind of don't agree with, and that is like, um, you know, taking the road less traveled. Basically, okay, so they say taking the road less traveled is discouraged, right? Like in her eyes, like, why not take the road less traveled? Why are you going to put yourself out there to be hurt on purpose? Like, why is that? How is that making your life better? So, like, taking the path of least resistance should be a desirable thing in her doctrine and what she explains, right? Because it's all about letting go and allowing the ease of the universe to take over, and letting go of the control, and letting go of the anxiety and the fears that life can bring us, right? In my opinion, I feel like I don't think that taking the road less traveled in the sense of psychologically becoming stronger or not is a good idea. I feel like being psychologically and emotionally um, resilient is important in order to kind of survive this life, right? That doesn't mean that you just go ahead and go back to your abusive partner over and over again. No, that's stupidity, is what that is. It is ignorance. It is holding on to um, those abandonment issues and not letting go. That's what that is, right? Like if you're repeatedly being hurt, that is a sign to you to let go, right? If you don't let go, all right, move back and allow that space of emptiness to take place, of abandonment, of emptiness, of sadness, of depression, and then climb your way out of that. you know you come out victorious if you're able to do that. You're going to be victorious if you come out doing that, and stronger, more fortified, more resilient to anything that resembles what you had experienced before. But like I said, there are those of us that are, really can achieve that intelligence. that emotional intel or fortitude, I should say, and emotional fortitude and resilience. But like I said, sometimes it's not other people's path. It's not their path. It's not their time. It's not the reason why they're here. It's not why, you know, it's not their time to learn that, and those people shouldn't be looked down upon. Everything has its purpose. Everything has its purpose. Just like in nature, you have death, you have life. You have leaves that grow green and beautiful, and people fucking go on helicopters and see how the fucking leaves are changing across mid America or whatever. And then you've got death, and you have winter, and everything's fucking twigs, and everything's dead, as far as plants are concerned, as we can see, you know, but that's a whole nother transformation, right? That's a whole nother chapter. And so I think that, just like everything has its season, every person has their season in what lesson they're supposed to learn on this planet, especially when it comes to love, and it comes to, because love is just such a deep, integral part of who we are. We all crave it to some extent. And figuring out, navigating that for me has been so difficult. So I just felt like inspired to just share a little bit about it. I know that let's see. Oh, let me read some of these. I'm sorry. I mean, just look at the sassy structure. At the sassy structure. What do you mean, sassy structure? Unknown. What do you mean about that? Sassy structure. Sassy? Like people are sassy? Like people who have an attitude? People who are arrogant? Um, oh, sexy. Okay, I don't know. I'm gonna say that, when it comes to physical attraction, it can be very elusive. Like, be careful with that, because, you know, that can also really feed into unhealed areas, right? Like, especially when what I've learned with a lot of masculine um centered folks is that, sometimes that can feed a lot of emotional trauma, just being physical with someone and not really go deep enough to heal the real problem. So being physical itself is not enough to get you to where you need to be, and no pun intended. No pun intended, but it's not enough to get you to that place of healing that you need to be, I think, in order to be very cognizant of what kind of connection you're going into. Um, so yeah, I think it's a lot deeper than just sex. Sex is a very it's a thing that can really connect us to somebody, but it has to do with this meat suit we have, right? It has to do with this body that we were born into. We didn't choose. It's here because we have it, but it doesn't speak to who we are spiritually, and that goes back to what I meant about soulmates and about twin flames and about, like, really those folks that you end up meeting they're powerful and they impact you in a great way. They can come from different walks of life, which really is a big, I think, a big hint to that person being significant for you, is that if they are the opposite of maybe what you would normally go for. Like, for example, let's say I like big, tattooed guys, and I suddenly fall for this little nerdy skinny guy. Not that nerdy skinny guys are bad. There are a lot of people who find them very attractive. But I'm just saying, like, it's not my norm, right? Or I fall for somebody who's super intellectual but stoic, and I am very extroverted and outgoing, or somebody who is the opposite, is the same sex as me. It could be as starkly different as that, which I relate to because that's totally happened to me. And yeah, life changing shit, so, but it all takes courage in order to allow yourself to walk through that process and walk through what that means. And to say, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to walk through it anyway because we only have one life to live, right? Like, you don't look at your physical. Do you mean you don't look at your physical? Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you don't look at a physical. What I mean is when I'm saying that people can come from different walks of life, I'm talking about like seriously, like stereotypical different walks of life. Like, let's say that you were somebody that was raised in a very small town and you only knew a certain amount of people, and you get a job somewhere and there's this super intellectual boss and you're down here, you're like the worker bee. And this boss is like, you can't stop the connection that you keep feeling when this person walks in the fucking room. Like, there's this connection. You guys stare at each other a little bit. It's kind of awkward. There's this kind of unsaid connection there. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people from different walks of life connecting on a soul level, a deep level. I'm not talking about physical level. This is not about that because, you know, would it really be a spiritual connection if it was physical only? Ask yourself that. If you had someone that met your needs, or I should say, met your preferences physically, would you even be open to learning anything about yourself spiritually at all? Would you? I wouldn't. I'd be completely immersed into that whole thing. I'd be, oh, this is somebody I'm dating. Why would I be interested in anything else other than them physically? So that's not the point of soulmates, and that's not the point of twin flames. Those connections are meant to teach you, mold you, and elevate your vibration based on how open you are into allowing that kind of um, deconstruction in your life, because that's exactly what it is. So that's what I'm talking about, sir or ma'am, unknown person there. I don't know why it says unknown. I don't know why I can't see who you guys are. That is so stupid. Like, is that something I need to change, guys? Like, do I have to change how I see everybody? I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing wrong. Participants, pop out chat, toggle time. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Community modifications. I don't even know what that means. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I can see who you were. Everybody's showing up as unknown. And maybe you guys don't follow me, and maybe that's why. Well, if you guys don't follow me, you should follow me. I do tarot readings, and I started this channel about 3 years ago during COVID, and I taught myself tarot in order to spiritually ascend, basically. Like, I had gotten to the point in my life where I was just like, this is some bullshit. Like, obviously in the middle of COVID I couldn't fucking get any therapy, so I'm like, okay, it's either, lose my fucking shit. I was like, well, my two kids, they were young, with my husband, and I'm like, this shit's, oh, by the way, cheers. Or do I try to find a way to fix myself? Slow mode is on. What the fuck is this? I don't know, guys. I'm not used to this whole fucking shit, and I'm not used to live, so I apologize about that. But anyways, so that's where I'm coming from. I try to, basically teach myself how to get through my own hangups and my own traumas because of this person that was supposed to be my twin flame, ended up being a fucking disaster. It was horrible. It's horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But yeah, twin flames definitely are something difficult A lot of times they're in separation. A lot of times you have one person that's healed and the other person that's not healed. And that is what makes it a very painful connection. Is you usually have someone super anxious, somebody who really wants to heal, really wants to communicate and go through that process, and somebody that's really avoidant and does not want to go through that process. Um, and it's okay. It's okay if it doesn't work out. It's okay. Like, I'm not upset that that twin flame decided not to um, pair with me. I rather be more healthy, and I rather be happy, and I rather be whole and more complete and confident in my own self than spend my energy on someone who is not healed and happy and healthy. So for me, that means more than just being in a connection, you know. So yeah, so there's that. All right. So anyway, I guess that's it. Um, if you want to get a personal reading from me, I wanted to just before I end this, and I hope I made sense. And if I didn't make sense, email me. Let me know if you wanted me to do like a live on a different subject. I would love to do that. Let me know if you have anything you want me to talk about or hear my views on. And I also am starting to do personal readings. So I do 30-minute personal readings for 25 bucks. And then I do an hour for 50, and then a $75 one where we can do a live interaction type reading, like kind of setup that we have here. And what's kind of nice about that one is that you can ask questions intermittently, like while we're going along, versus just having the question that you asked at the beginning of ordering your reading. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, I have a lot of pick a card readings. I have a few, about, I don't know, 40 or 50 on my channel that you can indulge in. And then let me know if there's any kind of subject you want me to do. Just interact. I want to be able to figure out what everybody is really needing to know right now, what the collective is wanting to get insight on. And if I can help in that way, I am happy to do that. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for those that did participate and put their 2 cents in. And then they said, bye. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are. It says unknown. But again, I welcome you to like subscribe to my channel and see. That way you could at least get notified when I get back on live. I try to do them at least maybe I try to do them at least once a week. So you guys take care, and I wish you all the best. I know it was a lot of deep shit that I was talking about, but take it day by day. Trust the universe, trust the messages that you're getting throughout the day. When you have those synchronicities, like you're seeing those double numbers, those triple numbers, you're, you know, getting enlightenment as you're going along with whatever you're educating yourself with. I just encourage you to continue to grow, continue to flourish. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. And your journey is your journey. That's all that matters, no matter what the social environment is, no matter what the social norm is. You just focus on you and focus on growing and healing your inner child, and you cannot go wrong with that. Okay. So you guys take care, and until next time, bye.